And for those of you watching SEC basketball, welcome into the Big 12. We're in Morgantown, West Virginia. The number 10 West Virginia Mountaineers so far pitching a 3-0 shutout on the Kansas State Wildcats. Derek Culver been dominant so far underneath. He is a load, averaging a double-double coming into this contest, Fran.
Only 3 players in power conferences right now are doing that, Rich. Justin Champagny at Pitt and Kofi Coburn of Illinois, along with Derek Culver, 3 guys who've had great years. But we've watched the maturity of Derek Culver over his 3 seasons under Bob Huggins, not just on the court, but off the court as well.
Formally introduce ourselves alongside Fran Fraschilla. I'm Rich Hollenberg. West Virginia coming in, arguably the hottest team in the Big 12, and there's Jalen Bridges with a triple.
What I really like about Bridges is he's a low shot percentage guy because this team has weapons, but he's very accurate for a freshman. He's had a very good freshman season.
Here's Miguel, tries to answer with a 3, no good, and the weak side rebound to the starting point guard today, Jordan McCabe. Miles McBride, their star sophomore, is on the bench available, but suffering from what the team calls a lower body injury.
Well, we may not see him, Rich, if this game gets out of hand, but we talked about limiting turnovers, and there you see one, and then watch McCabe now. Simple pass, and the young man from Fairmont, West Virginia, right down the road from Morgantown, the Polar Bears of Fairmont, where he won a state title, the Bill Evans West Virginia High School Player of the Year as well. Great athletes have come out of Fairmont through the years.
Here's Antonio Gordon. Still can't get K-State off the schneid. The offensive rebound. Gordon again. This time it goes.
Comes off a good offensive rebound by the guy we've highlighted already, Davion Bradford, the 7-footer. Really active inside so far.
A little over 4 minutes gone by, an early 6-2 lead for West Virginia, looking to win their 6th game in their last 7. Here's McCabe, mismatch with Gordon guarding him. Tried to take advantage, no good, and it's going to be Kansas State ball when we return. 15:30 to go. The Mountaineers with a 6-2 early lead over Kansas State. The Road to Champ Week presented by Wendy's continues in Morgantown with the Big 12 on ESPN, part of the Saturday Showcase, presented by 5 Hour Energy. Today, Bob Huggins and his number 10 West Virginia Mountaineers with an early 6-2 lead over Bruce Weber and the Kansas State Wildcats. Alongside Fran Fraschilla, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Fran, Derek Culver has been a breakout star for Bob Huggins so far this season, and 3 of the 6 points so far today for the Mountaineers.
Well, he has, and he's a great story, Rich, because he comes out of Youngstown, Ohio, and there's nobody that knows Northeastern Ohio like Bob Huggins after growing up in the area, coaching at Akron. And Derek Culver is a young man who Bob Huggins has mentored through the years. After a great year at Brewster Academy, he came to Morgantown and, quite frankly, did not practice the fall semester of his freshman year until he got, I guess you could say, his act together. And over the last 2.5 years, this young man has matured, he's grown, and he is, as you mentioned, a beast. Scoring inside and also one of the great rebounders in college basketball this season. And I've mentioned it a little earlier, Rich, but I'm a huge fan of this young man at the line. Davion Bradford, you see the season numbers. They're not necessarily prolific, but I think he's been a nice surprise for the Wildcats. Remember, he comes out of St. Louis, which has always been a good area for Bruce Weber and assistant coach Chris Lowry. Both of those guys coached at Southern Illinois. Bruce was at Purdue, where they did a lot of recruiting there. You know the name Conzo Martin.
Of course.
And St. Louis has been a great area in recent years for the Wildcats.
8 on the shot clock. Here's Matthews. Swings it around. Taz Sherman, first time on the floor. And Gabe Savoyan does what he does. Get an offensive rebound.
Garbage man.
Here's Sean McNeil, misses. And the foul is called with 14:40 to go. Well, there's Chris Lowry, the associate head coach. He talked about that St. Louis connection.
Yeah, they'll go into St. Louis with kids like Luke Kasubi, who you'll see soon, and Bradford. Remember Xavier Sneed and Nino Williams and DJ Johnson, and they have great relationships in the greater St. Louis area. Southern Illinois, Rich, is a little under 2 hours from downtown St. Louis, and so both coaches did a great job there. And it's only about 5 hours from St. Louis to Manhattan, Kansas.
And the freshman Selton Miguel called for the travel after he lost his footing.
Yep, once he went to the floor, he cannot get back up, and that's something he needs to learn. The rule is, if you're on the floor, theoretically, once you stand up, you've moved your pivot foot, and Jerry Pollard saw it, and hopefully Selton Miguel will figure that out. Really good defender, boy. Watch him defend McCabe.
Here's Matthews, top of the key for three, off the back iron. And another opportunity, and Sean McNeil cashes in.
Let me tell you, McNeil, McBride, and Sherman, yep, it sounds like a law firm. These guys have been red hot all year. What I love about them, Rich, is there's no hesitation when they're open. The confidence level is sky high.
McGurl, who had those 3 late threes in their win last week against Oklahoma, came up short on that one. McNeil tried the heat check 3 and missed it. We'll get into Sean McNeil's story as this game goes
nice
on.
Nice pass.
Beautiful. And
great
Matthews with the throwdown.
Yes, sir. Started with McCabe. And how about Matthews off a pass from Osaboyan, the 51st assist of the season from Gabe Osaboyan, who is 6'9". Take a look now. Watch. Downhill drive, kickoff. Osaboyan knows exactly where Matthews is.
Well, Gabe Osaboyan getting credit for the Emmett Matthews dunk because he had the assist to Matthews when he threw that down, Fran.
Well, what you like about this guy, Rich, is for a guy his size, he's kind of like Dennis Rodman to me. But he leads the team in deflections, 115 on the season. He's got 51 assists. He's got 15 charges taken. You notice every offensive rebound gets kicked out. He gets a rebound, it's going out to a shooter.
Good hands there, and it forces a traveling violation.
Yep,
Not only does Gabe Osaboyan get assists, Fran, he gets deflections and charges as well.
He gets 1 deflection every 3.4 minutes on the season, and you want to know, folks, why deflections are important. Yeah, they steals come about because of that, but also they disrupt a team's offense when the ball's deflected out to midcourt or knocked out of bounds. It's a big stat that measures hustle and energy.
And this time we're going the other way.
Got an illegal screen inside. I think might have been maybe Matthews. Kedrian Johnson, the JUCO kid from Dallas.
Well, Fran, it's no secret that Kansas State has struggled this year, especially on the offensive end. They have 4 turnovers in their first 10 possessions. What does Bruce Weber have to do today to try to be successful against West Virginia?
Well, I was going to say, get Nigel back in the lineup, because remember, he did not play in the game in Manhattan when they lost by 22 and committed 28 turnovers. But it's just a matter of, be honest, Rich, it's a matter of just catching, passing, moving, cutting in a way that's not going to give West Virginia a chance to get out in transition. It's basic basketball. But again, this young team is playing against a top 10 program today. This team is not unlike that West Virginia team we saw a couple years ago when Jordan McCabe was a freshman.
4 on the shot clock. Is it a turnover? No, it's saved, but it's a shot clock violation. We have our under 12 timeout to take. Number 10, West Virginia, 11, Kansas State, 6. 5-point lead for the Mountaineers. Kansas City again. Fran and Bob Wischusen will have all the action from the Big 12 tournament. And good news for West Virginia fans, Miles McBride, the super sophomore for Bob Huggins Mountaineers, checking in for the first time this afternoon. He didn't start the game, Fran, because of a lower body injury, but it's good to see that he's taking the floor now.
And they need his offense because despite the fact that Kansas State has not scored a lot of points, neither has West Virginia. And the interesting thing about that injury, Rich, is remember, this is the first of 4 in 8 games, and that is just not a good post feed by the senior Mike McGurl.
And another steal by Gabe Osaboyan.
Simple stuff that they've got to do a little bit better. That's a push in the back. That
got away with it and got the offensive rebound.
Iziagu went flying. That was gentle. That was really well done, actually, that little nudge in the back.
5 on the shot clock for the Mountaineers. Matthews to the cup.
Boy, he's had a good week. You know, Rich, Bob Huggins says he may be their most underrated player. They love his defense. He had a big game down in Texas last week, 14 points.
Now McGurl gets trapped near half court, and it's stolen again, this time by McNeil.
Well, these are the turnovers. And look at McGill, he gets it right back. This kid's going to be an outstanding defender in the Big 12, Selton McGill.
Gordon out to Kasubke. And Luke Kasubke's first shot is way off the mark.
Not shot the ball well this year, but he does not hesitate when he's open. He's a tough kid. He plays with confidence, but this whole team has to get better in the offseason at knocking down the 3-ball. Cannot win games shooting 29% from the field.
McBride good on his first jump shot attempt.
What a season this
guy. The effects of that lower body injury.
Absolutely. He is having a tremendous sophomore season.
Kasubke's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Now he's in midcourt. Heaves it up and somehow finds his teammate. And Casey Iziagu almost had a bucket there. Instead, it'll stay Kansas State basketball.
Well, he called for fair catch, but let's take a look at Deuce McBride right here. Watch him work off Osaboyan. And then a dribble, pull up, excellent mid-range. He's kind of the antithesis of those who don't like the mid-range game because he is really, although his outside shooting beyond the arc has gotten better and better, Rich, he is murder in that pull-up game.
Iziagu's first free throw is good as Derek Culver checks back in now for Bob Huggins. Casey Iziagu, a 6'10" redshirt sophomore from Ontario, like Gabe Osaboyan. And he makes both of his free throws.
Yeah, you can see that the Kansas State defense has been pretty solid so far, but it's been those turnovers we talked about at the top. Watch Miguel. Look at that aggressiveness, Rich. And that's about as good as you could play defense. Now, there's a foul there because he reached in, and he's just got to move his feet.
Well, we've got a great Saturday coming up on ESPN and the app. 2 more great games that should be great. Duke's won 4 straight, and now they're on the bubble, hosting 12-5 Louisville at Cameron at 6 Eastern. Then a Big 12 battle between number 2 Baylor and number 17 Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah,
here's a breakout for Kansas State.
Yeah, I'm going to give the advantage to Kansas tonight. I think Kansas will win at home because there's 2 kinds of breaks, Rich. There's a COVID pause where your team has the virus. There's a COVID break when other teams have the virus and your games have been canceled. Baylor's been ravaged pretty hard the last 3 weeks, and we saw that performance against Iowa State. I think Kansas, the way they're playing right now, is going to win tonight. That's my prediction.
Big offensive board over Derek Culver for Mike McGurl. Can't get it to go. Kasubke underneath, knocked away.
Had chances.
McNeil. No good. Here comes Deshaun Gordon. And Gordon lost the handle. Stolen away by Miles McBride. Fast break. And West Virginia is going to be shooting free throws.
Foul is whistled on 0-0. Mike McGurl is first, team foul number 3.
Well, Mike McGurl, Bruce Weber mentioned in the newspaper this week that he would like to see the senior come back for that free 5th year that the NCAA has granted to winter sports athletes. Remember, Rich, as a freshman, he was scheduled to redshirt, and then because of injuries, was thrown into the lineup halfway through the season. He had 17 in a win against Creighton in the NCAA tournament. And I think that Mike McGurl should take advantage of that, because I would exploit the NCAA and Kansas State right now. If Mike McGurl were to go across the water to play, let's say in Denmark or Belgium next year, he'd make about $3 grand a month. Why not come back and play a 5th season? Maybe you work on your master's degree. They spend about $150,000 a year per athlete anyway at Kansas, or per basketball player. I think he should take advantage of that and exploit the NCAA next year by getting a free 5th year of college education.
Nice pass outside, and it's cashed in the first 3 of the game for Kansas State. That's Rudy Williams in the scoring column.
Another Canadian from Toronto, by the way.
Matthews off the mark, the weak side rebound to Kansas State. It's a 2-possession ball game with 8:20 to go.
Good to see Rudy Williams back in the lineup. Remember, this Kansas State team has been ravaged by injuries all season long. That's not a good pass right there.
Ill-advised, but it's corralled by Antonio Gordon. Out of bounds, and Jerry Pollard says West Virginia basketball.
Yesterday, Rich, Kansas announced that Mitch Whitefoot, believe it or not, would be back for his 6th year. As you see, Rudy Williams, who's missed the last couple games with a lower leg injury. But I think Taz Sherman at West Virginia is in a similar situation. Remember, he did not have a huge impact on this West Virginia team a year ago, and quite frankly, he might be able to make a G League team next year and play overseas and make 40, 50 grand. If I were Taz Sherman, I would come back and enjoy that 5th year as we watch Rudy Williams from Toronto. Dish inside, kick out, knocks it down.
Thank you very much, DC. There's Bruce Weber, who, of course, took the Illini to a championship game back in 2005. But getting back to the game that they were talking about, Bedlam, Cade Cunningham had 13 points in the first half, Fran. That's a good sign for Mike Boynton's Cowboys.
Well, his career is coming to an end in the next month, maybe 5 weeks, never know. And what I like about Cade Cunningham, he's figured out that time is of the essence, in which we've chronicled that he tends in the past to get off to slow starts. Bruce knows about having great guards. Think about Darren Williams. And Cade Cunningham in the last few games is taking over games early. The thing that impresses me as much as anything, because we've chronicled him so many times, is how good an outside shooter he is. That was the question mark coming in. 3 of 6 today, and he's shooting over 40% on the season. That is going to be massive at the next level.
5 on the shot clock for the Mountaineers. And a foul before the shot. And just to put a bow on Oklahoma State, Mountaineers will be hosting the Cowboys next Saturday in that makeup week that the Big 12 allowed for. And unfortunately for Bruce Weber and the K-State Wildcats, they're without arguably their best player in freshman Nigel Pack. He has an eye injury. You see him on the sidelines with the sunglasses. He's not doing that because he's cool. He's doing that because of the eye injury, and they'll be without his services.
Yeah, he's had a very, he will make my all Big 12 freshman team. He's been outstanding this season. Young man out of Lawrence Central High School in Indianapolis. Great high school basketball. Played with Dre Davis, who's down at Louisville. They had 3 losses all last season, Rich, Lawrence Central. And they were all to the same team, Lawrence North, who's always been an Indiana power. But Nigel Pack is exactly what Bruce Weber thought he was getting when he recruited him. Arguably the guy that's had as much of an impact on his team as a freshman as Barry Brown did a few years ago.
Yeah, and to your point, he's the only freshman in the nation to lead his team in points, assists, and three-point percentage. But without him, and with 13 minutes gone by, his Wildcats are down just 2 possessions. Here's an offensive rebound by Rudy Williams.
Yeah, and again, they've got to make some outside shots.
5 on the shot clock for the Cats.
Hit the rim.
McGurl squeezes one off and knocks it down.
That's what he did the other night, Tuesday night. He knocked down 3 big ones down the stretch. And senior night was nice for him because they upset number 7 Oklahoma. The defense by Kansas State over the last few games has been excellent. Look at this.
Sherman can't answer with a 3.
When I watched the Oklahoma game on tape this week, Rich, the first thing that jumped out to me, it was vintage 2018-2019.
That foul's going to go on McNeil. Let's take a look at that Mike McGurl 3-pointer.
Off the dribble, young man from Hartford, Connecticut, who's had some moments for Bruce Weber, been a backup on some really good teams last couple of years, has been a key guy. And again, Bruce Weber would love to have him come back next year as a fifth-year senior.
And he is the only senior on this young Kansas State team that has struggled to a 7-18 record, just 3-13 in the Big 12. But McGurl has been everything that a Wildcat is. You know, they have that saying, EMA, every man a Wildcat. Bruce Weber says he signifies everything about a kid we want in our program.
Well, listen, if they're going to improve next year, they have to get older. They also have to not turn the ball over, and they have to become a good shooting team. And Emmett Matthews quietly, you know, I talked to Bob Huggins earlier in the week, Rich, and I said to him, you're always complimentary of Emmett. And he said, he doesn't get a lot of attention, but he does a lot of things for us that help us win.
He's got 6 points so far in this one, helping the Mountaineers to a 5-point lead. Oh! There's another 3 by McGurl.
Come on back, Mike. Please come back. Please come back. Honestly, Rich, I know the European market well. He would not make a ton of money next year. Like if he went to Denmark or Iceland, he might make $3 grand a month for 7 or 8 months, something in that range. And yeah, you call yourself a pro, but come on back, Mike, for that 5th year. Remember, they wanted to redshirt you. And you know, they're going to look probably for the transfer market anyway. They might have a transfer in their own program, and Mike McGurl, if he does come back next year. I'd love to see him come back because I think he could really stabilize this young team even more. I would actually be on the market for a couple more transfers, quite frankly, with this young team. Remember, August 1st, we believe the rule's going to go into place, that the one-time transfer rule is going to go into effect. You could be eligible right away. And how about the big fella inside causes some havoc? Big Davion Bradford inside.
And now Kansas State in the double bonus for the final 5+ minutes of this first half. And if Bradford can hit his 2 free throws, we've got ourselves a tie ball game.
This young man in Big 12 play has 7 double-figure games, Rich. And that might not sound like a big deal, but when you're a 7-foot kid, think about it. He was recruited by Missouri, Illinois, some other good programs. But Chris Lowry and Bruce Weber got involved with this young man as a freshman. And he showed that reciprocation and loyalty by committing to K-State. Already off to a good start to his career.
He's 2 for 5 from the free throw line this afternoon. If he makes this one, we're tied at 19. Bruce Weber always preaches playing hard will make up for a lot of deficiencies, and in the last 2 games we've seen that from Kansas State, getting off the 13-game losing streak and winning 2 in a row in the Big 12.
Well, think of his DNA. He worked for former Kansas State Wildcat Gene Cady at Purdue all those years, and then has had great success in that, what I would call Cady system of toughness.
The 3-pointer off the mark. Big offensive board by Gordon. And again, he can't get it to go from close range.
Well, if I'm Antonio Gordon right now, I am living in the weight room in the offseason. He's active. He can shoot the 3 ball, but you get it that close, you got to power that ball up. Come on, big guy.
Deep three from McCabe, no good. Miguel the rebound to McGurl.
I mean, Antonio Gordon had a monster game against Baylor early in the year, Rich. He's a talented young player. Can't dribble it in there.
McGurl moved the puppies before putting the ball on the deck. It's a K-State turnover. Hey, this week's NBA Saturday primetime matchup presented by AT&T 5G on ABC and the ESPN app. Luka and the Mavs playing their second game of a three-game roadie against Kyrie, James Harden, and the Nets, who are playing without Kevin Durant. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific.
My New York Knicks started allowing fans to come to the Garden. The Nets have not done that yet, but very hopeful that we can get some people back in the seats. Some NBA teams are already allowing that to happen, and hopefully, Rich, everybody's taking care of business. We're maybe turning the corner, and next season when we come to Morgantown and go to Cheddar's for lunch and Oliverio's for dinner, it's on me, Rich, by the way, we'll have 14,000 in the Coliseum. And by the way, it's beautiful. I was there in November. They got the blue seats. If you haven't been in the West Virginia Coliseum right now, great scoreboard, great arena, seats. It looks like a brand new place, actually.
Yeah, major renovation to celebrate the 50th anniversary of West Virginia Coliseum this year.
How about this defense? How about this defense without Nigel Pack today? A little bit of shades of the past today for the Kansas State.
Fans, take a look at the video board for today.
ESPN's exclusive presentation to college basketball.
Seen out of Kansas State. I mean, they are competing at the defensive end of the floor. I love it, Fran.
If they would stop turning the ball over like that errant pass into the post right there, they would be in control of this game, Rich. You got to love their defense. But again, the turnovers have been an issue all season long, and silly turnovers.
And for West Virginia, up one, ranked 10th in the country, Fran. A unique twist to the end of this season because of COVID, obviously. This is the start of 4 straight games over the next 8 days that they will play all inside West Virginia Coliseum.
Yep, and some good opponents, too, obviously, with TCU, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. And Bob Huggins has always lamented the fact, not complaining about being in the league let me make that clear. He loves being in the Big 12, but the road is never easy for West Virginia. That's why the 6th straight is so impressive. And this week, he doesn't get to complain at all. I don't care about 4 games in 8 days, Bob. Come on. They're all in West Virginia's Coliseum.
McBride off the back iron. Here's a leak out for Kansas State. But they can't convert, and it's another turnover.
How many times today has Kansas State either missed a shot inside or, in that case, a driving layup, that time by the freshman Selton Miguel, who on one end of the court has been absolutely amazing this season. I think this kid could be as good a defender as we'll see in the league the next 3 years. But offensively, the young man from Luanda, Angola, who plays with great energy, has just got to improve on that end. These guys have got to live in a gym this summer, these young guys, and make shots.
Speaking of making shots, here's number 1 who could do that for West Virginia, and right on cue, number 22, Sean McNeil, knocks down the J.
What a sophomore season he's having. When we were at practice in November, we thought he and Sherman would make shots. Started out slow, but they've been both outstanding in Big 12 play. Nice pass.
Nice feed, Gordon to Bradford.
Good job by Antonio Gordon right there. Very active. And I'm in love with Bradford. He reminds me, I said this, Rich, I think he's ahead of where David McCormick was as a freshman. And there's this guy, Sean McNeil, man. How about this guy? Cooper High School in Union, Kentucky, just about 30 miles south of Cincinnati. Had to kind of get his act together after going to Bellarmine University for, 4 or 5 days. Came home, hung out, started practicing and playing at Northern Kentucky in the intramural courts there, and then ended up at Sinclair up in the Dayton area, playing for a really good coach, Jeff Price, who's been at Sinclair Community College for a long time. And hey, Rich, this kid went for 30 plus 15 different times as a junior college freshman. And who knows Southwestern Ohio better than Bob Huggins? They were on him early.
Well, I would say that area pretty well, having started your coaching days there. But Bob Huggins has a pipeline in there. His father, Charlie, obviously a legend in Ohio basketball, and now his younger brother, Larry, runs the same complex that his dad started. So anybody who is anything in basketball in Ohio, Bob Huggins gets a phone call about it.
There's no question about it. Larry played at Ohio State on some great teams. There's a little, got to clean that ball off. Yeah, I would say of any coach in the country, nobody probably knows Ohio moving screen really any better than Bob Huggins, who grew up, you know, he spent time there. His dad was a great coach there. Bob was born in Morgantown, actually, but before Dad, Charlie, who's a Hall of Fame coach. Larry was a pretty good player as well on some really good Buckeye teams in the late 70s, early 80s. Clark Kellogg, Herb Williams. Look at this.
McNeil, no. Offensive rebound to Osaboyan. Fires it back out to McNeil.
Good fake.
Now 10 on the shot clock for West Virginia. And the foul is going to go on the girl.
The Bear. That's what they call him in Morgantown, the Bear. And you see, I remember back in the Walsh days, then to Akron, and of course, taking Cincinnati to a Final Four. 1 year at K-State, which kind of helped resurrect his career, that he has been home since. And, you know, you got to give Bob Huggins credit because John Beeline left a really good team. Rich, let me tell you a story about Bob Huggins and that team that John left behind, Joe Mazzulla and company. They played 1-3-1 zone under John Beeline, and when Bob Huggins got to West Virginia, he had the players teach him their version of the zone, and he left it in place because they were so good at it under John Beeline. And you talk about a peaceful transition of power. That was one that was seamless. Two great coaches.
Bob Huggins sitting on win number 898 if he can get that today. And that would tie him with Roy Williams for 5th all-time on the list and just 5 behind Bobby Knight.
Listen, if Bob Huggins doesn't get 900 this year, he's going to have a miserable summer, okay?
There's Bradford with easy, too.
How good has he been, Rich? You impressed with him?
Yeah. Part of that young crew that Bruce Weber is going to try and grow with and get back up in the standings in the Big 12 in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think realistically they can get back to the middle of the pack, but they do have to improve in certain areas offensively. There's no question.
So now about a 2-second differential between the shot clock and the game clock as the first half winds down. Number 10, West Virginia, leading the entire contest, but only up by 4. Offensive rebound, Bradford. Can't get it to go with the little baby hook. And here comes McBride. McCabe for 3, off the mark as time runs out in the first half.
West Virginia 26, Kansas State 22.
Well, Sean McNeil hit a couple of jumpers, but Jordan McCabe couldn't hit that one as we go to break. It's 26-22, number 10 West Virginia with the lead. This halftime report presented by E-Trade. Get more than just trading with E-Trade. Investing, banking, guidance. DC and Sean up next.
Thank you, Rich. This is the
Morgantown, West Virginia, the Saturday Showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. We are set for the second half between number 10 West Virginia and Kansas State. A 4-point lead for the Mountaineers. They've combined for 12 points off 11 K-State turnovers. Fran Fraschilla at his home in Texas. Rich Hollenberg in my home in Florida. We thank you for watching us here on the Saturday Showcase as West Virginia's built a 4-point lead, but they've done it on the shoulders of a pair of players who you might not think would lead this team in scoring, Fran.
Well, Derek Culver has been saddled with 2 fouls. Bridges has 2 as well. But McNeil rock solid all season long after big Oscar Osaboyan left. And Emmett Matthews has been solid for this team, not necessarily offensively, but today he's giving them a lift. But how about the big fella, Rich, on the other side for K-State? Davion Bradford, freshman from St. Louis, 7 points, 4 rebounds, continues to impress, heading to potentially another double-figure scoring game in Big 12 play. He's got 7 already.
So there's a look at your scoring leaders. Matthews actually has 8 points as well, but McNeil with those 3 field goals, a couple of threes, that gives him 51 on the year, and he's one of the best marksmen in all of the Big 12. And he's on the floor to start the second half for Bob Huggins. 5 out of the last 6 for Hugs and the West Virginia Mountaineers, the hottest team in the Big 12, looking to make it 6 out of 7 as they begin the home stretch of 4 straight home games to close out the Big 12 regular season. First shot, a quick one, another offensive rebound for Bradford, and he can't get it to go.
Yep, he'll get better. His balance inside is still a work in progress, but 5th rebound for the big guy, and he just got to take his time in there. Remember, Culver's got 2.
Around and out for Culver. It goes out of bounds, and it looks like it's going to stay West Virginia basketball.
One thing we expected, Rich, even without Nigel Pack, the freshman who's out today for Kansas State, is they would compete on the defensive end, and they have certainly done that versus the number 10 team in the country.
And Miles McBride, number 4 with the ball for West Virginia, starting the second half. He came off the bench in the first half suffering from a lower body injury, but he looks to be okay and active starting the second half for Hugs. And we have a foul away from the ball. Well, if you took the over in total fouls in this game, Fran, I think that's a safe bet.
Let's just say both of these teams play physical defense and have forever and ever. If you know both Bruce Weber and Bob Huggins, it's a calling card.
McNeil with the pull-up.
You know what you like about this guy, Rich? What I really like about this kid is he can get his own shot. He is more than just a catch-and-shoot guy. His ability to put it on the floor and raise up is very, very good. McBride and Sherman can shoot it and drive it to the rim. This kid gets to the mid-range really well.
62% of his field goal attempts are threes, but he's shown right there. That mid-range game is in his arsenal.
Well, and guess what? When you shoot it that well or that many times from outside, that's a long one. Teams are going to chase you off that line.
Another K-State foul. That one's going to be on Davion Bradford. And he was the best player in the first half for Kansas State.
I'm really impressed with the young man. Again, it's, you know, we saw this evolution with Culver over the last 2 years. David McCormick, certainly the big fellow at Kansas. It takes a while for a young big guy to really get his feet on the ground in the Big 12. It's not easy to come in and have an impact, and he has certainly done that. Of course, I remember, Rich, when Derek Culver shot 24 free throws in one game out in Lubbock as a freshman.
Yeah, he's done a couple of eye-popping things in his time in Morgantown. A couple of 20-20 games for Derek Culver this year. One of just 3 major conference players to be averaging a double-double. Did they count the basket? Jalen Bridges with the pretty up and under.
Yeah, that was a terrific inbounds play. Bridges curled over the top of almost a triple screen to the rim. And the inbounds defender did not pick this. Watch, see, Mike McGurl is basically in no man's land. 2-8. Mike's just kind of hanging out there underneath the basket. And the one thing you can do, coaches at home, is the inbounders defender must wall off the rim. I've seen that happen so many times this season.
Earlier in the game, Frank, you mentioned how Jalen Bridges is not called upon to score a lot, but he can. He's 8 for his last 8 from the field, including 4 from his last 4 for 3.
Yeah, absolutely, Rich. That's why I said earlier he's really not a big part of the offense, but his efficiency has been really good. This is a young man in Jalen Bridges who was going to go to prep school in Pennsylvania, taking his West Virginia visit, and he'd already graduated. He played at Fairmont, you know, senior high right down there, 20 miles from Morgantown or so. And he was so in love with campus and the team, he said, And the coaching staff said, why don't you just come here and redshirt instead of going to prep school? And he spent last year as a redshirt. There's the big fella inside. Derek Culver just horsing Bradford, and this is a quick start for the Mountaineers.
Well, it's a 7-0 spurt to start for West Virginia. Derek Culver with his second field goal of the game. We'll be right back after this. 11-point lead for 10th-ranked West Virginia. Tomorrow, the Undefeated presents A Room of Our Own, a one-hour special that explores the connection that black athletes have with music and the impact that association has in powering social movements. It premieres at noon Eastern on ESPN and the app with an encore presentation at 4 Eastern on ABC. Alongside Fran Fraschilla, Rich Hollenberg, 17:42 to go in this one, and West Virginia has dominated from the start of this second half. Fran?
They have, Rich. I think much like a week ago when Bob Huggins had a little talking to with his team in Austin, I tried to get him to tell me what he said, and he refused. He said it wasn't for national airwaves. They might have gotten that same speech tonight because they have come out, particularly offensively, really on fire.
This is a team that ranked 10th according to KenPom in offensive efficiency. Still held to just 33 points, and there's an easy bucket at close range for K-State.
Good challenge by
the rebound.
Yeah, good challenge by Bradford. Bob Huggins going inside, seeing if he can get some baskets for Derek Culver and get him going.
There's another turnover, the 13th by the Wildcats. Bridges, got it. That's 8 points for Jalen Bridges.
Remember his first start, Rich, back on January 2nd? They morphed into a smaller team with the transfer of Oscar Shibwe, and Jalen Bridges went for 19. He hasn't had that prolific a game since, but his efficiency is off the charts. How about this kid?
Davion Bradford in double digits with 11 now.
And that is the 8th double-digit game in Big 12 play in arguably one of the 2 best leagues in the country. And if you don't think that young man's got a future, you're not watching Big 12 basketball this season.
If it wasn't for Davion Bradford in this game, it would be blowout city for West Virginia. But Derek Culver answers with a bucket of his own. He has 7.
Well, I like what Huggs is doing. 2 fouls early in this game, so he was non-existent. And big guy should not be tired. They're going into him early, and he's paying dividends.
7 points, 4 boards for Derek Culver. Well, West Virginia's defense leading to a little offense, Fran.
Absolutely. We know they can play defense, and guess what, folks? This year, their offense even better. That's right. Maybe the best offensive team Bob Huggins has had in Morgantown.
It's number 10 West Virginia and Kansas State, but a just final score that we want to bring to you that you could have seen over on ABC. Bedlam Part 1 goes to the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And Fran, that super freshman, Cade Cunningham, has been great all year. He had a virtuoso performance against the Sooners on the road today.
Boy, he sure did. 40 points. What was it, 11 rebounds, Rich? The only thing that matters now is not whether he's going to be the #1 pick. And by the way, there are 5 really good players at the top of this draft. The only question now is which shoe deal does he take? Because I think today I've been watching parts of this when we were not on the air, and he was sensational. The most impressive thing, Rich, is he's such a great teammate and a great passer, a great facilitator, a great off-ball defender, a helper. And today to go and get 40 in a game where they knock off number 7 Oklahoma in a rivalry game, that one will be up there with some of those performances by Wayman and Blake and Trey and the Graham twins, and go on and on.
Well, you think about the tough week it was for the Oklahoma Sooners, ranked 7th. They lose 2 games in a row. If West Virginia wins this game, you would anticipate they would move up in the rankings.
Well, I think that'll happen, but I have to tell you this. Haven't seen Oklahoma State a lot this year, and you have certainly as well. I'm really impressed, not just with Cade Cunningham, but just how quickly one of the youngest teams in the country has come along. When you talk about, Rondell Walker and and Moncrief and Avery Anderson, maybe one of the most improved players in the league. Mike Boynton has done an amazing job, not just to recruit Cade Cunningham, but to build a program in Stillwater.
Well, Fran, here's a chance for Kansas State. Derek Culver now saddled with 3 fouls, so he's on the bench for Bob Huggins, where he spent a good portion of the first half as well. He's just got a handful of points, 7 points, only 4 rebounds, so he's been neutralized. That's good news for Kansas State. Now they find themselves down 9, still plenty of time left, with a chance to maybe put together a run.
Well, they need to, only shooting 29%. I think the defense has been good enough to be in this game. They have to definitely convert on the offensive end.
See if Miles McBride can get on track a little bit. Here's McBride with the ball, guarded by Gordon. McNeil left alone, deep 3, no good. Oh no, the rebound goes to Antonio Gordon. Mike McGurl with the ball, 0-0.
Yep, 14 turnovers today for K-State. They've got to be a lot better down the stretch.
In and out, that looked good off his hand, and Gabe Osaboyan is hunched over right in the painted area. Looks like he might have taken a shot. Osaboyan a little woozy walking back to the West Virginia bench.
Now this is a guy that transferred from Arkansas. His numbers, it's amazing, Rich. Take a look as he's wrestling. Oh, he caught an inadvertent elbow from his teammate, I believe.
Yeah, that was Jalen Bridges' left elbow that got him.
Yep. And Gabe averages 1.8 points a game, but we've already chronicled how important he is to this West Virginia team. This team, Rich, has morphed, as we've mentioned many times, to a 4-out type of team with great shooting. And, of course, Osaboyan can certainly play with Culver at times, but he is essentially, I wouldn't say they've platooned because Culver plays 34 minutes, but they have worked really well together in the absence of Oscar Shibwe and the injury to freshman Isaiah Cottrell is going to be a very good player. And then you see Derek sitting on the bench, contemplating.
Well, you mentioned Oscar Shibwe's departure. He's going to be with Kentucky next year. But to his credit, Bob Huggins has pivoted in season, something that he hasn't had to do a lot in his 39 seasons as a head coach. And they are 8-4 without Oscar Shibwe, who was an all Big 12 preseason player, a McDonald's All-American coming into Morgantown. A terrific job by Coach Huggins and the staff, altering the offense and really ramping up the offense.
Yeah, I think so. Since he's left, they're shooting over 40% from 3, probably around 42, and it has really opened up the court, not only for Culver inside, but it's created room for McBride and Sherman and McNeil and Bridges, and it's been impressive. It happened overnight on the Oklahoma trip. And, of course, Rich, the second part of that trip was a 19-point comeback in Stillwater.
McBride can't find the mark on the 3. And Kansas State still hanging around. They've won 2 in a row after losing 13 straight. Rudy Williams almost had it picked off by McBride.
It's a hot potato.
10 on the shot clock. That one's stolen by Osaboyan.
There's just no angle to throw it in there. You got to make the defender disappear behind you. You have to see your teammates' numbers.
And an offensive foul called an illegal screen on Gabe Osaboyan.
Rich, let's go back and watch this post feed. This ball is in the air too long, and his teammate, the post player, hasn't had a chance to seal his man. So what does Osaboyan do? He just sneaks in around the other side, and there's just no angle there. Now, Osiegu's got to do a better job of sealing Osaboyan behind him, and if he doesn't, don't throw it in there.
15 K-State turnovers. The West Virginia letting them hang around with 12 of their own. And Gordon almost lost it again.
No, you have to call that a foul. It's good hustle by Jalen Bridges, but he was in the process of hustling, almost tripping the offensive player. Fans don't like it, but this is by rule. You have to call this. Take a look now. He reaches in. And then see right there, when Antonio Gordon falls down, they're going to put that foul on the defender every time right now.
So Jalen Bridges to the bench after that foul.
And we didn't see much of him in the first half. Yeah.
Guarded by Taz Sherman. Now they switch. 8 on the shot clock. Kasubke alone from the corner. No. And a nice rebound by Miles McBride, who averages over 4 boards a game.
I'll tell you, they're actually pretty good in this 5-out offense because Osaboyan is a terrific passer from the top of the key.
And the fouls and referees' whistles, Fran, have really prevented us from getting into any kind of a flow in this game.
Well, I would say poor shooting has an effect on that as well, Rich. But yes.
So is that advantage one or the other?
Yeah.
This kind of game?
Yeah, West Virginia, because they are the 10th best offensive team in America. So, you know, obviously the effort by K-State is very good today defensively, but at this point,
it's taking the ball away.
Yeah, as the score indicates, 28 points with 12 to go is not good.
Eziegu off the McGurl feed.
Good feed, absolutely. Good catch by the big fella rolling to the rim. Nice drop off by McGurl, and the game is interesting. There's no question this game has become interesting.
Here's McNeil. Off the assist from Osaboyan. Another triple from Sean McNeil.
And there's no hesitation. You're talking confidence, baby. This kid plays with confidence. I guess if you average 30 points a game in a season like he did in junior college, there's some swag in your game.
And there's an answer from Antonio Gordon, his second bucket of the game.
Yeah, I like Antonio Gordon's inside-outside ability. He's been saddled with injuries.
There's Osaboyan, another handoff.
Yep, that might be another assist. Yep.
Got it.
And if I'm the scorekeeper, I'm giving Osaboyan another assist. And Rich, I'm just telling you, you'll find almost nobody in the country who plays the center spot who's a 2-to-1 assist turnover guy. It's almost impossible to be that good, and he is.
Well, Fran, the official score hasn't given him an assist for that one, but still, listen to this stat line. 0 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists for Gabe Osaboyan.
I'm going to have a talk with that stat keeper. But I like Osaboyan's effort anyway. Take a look. He's averaging 1.8 points a game, folks. He takes charges, 15 on the season. He gets his hand on balls, and he's dropping dimes, too. Toronto style. It's a loony, not a dime.
Rebounds to go with it. Unbelievable performance, Dallin.
He had 40, second most in the history of that rivalry. Back to Rich and Franny.
Who was the first, Rich? Who has the most points?
Most points.
In a loss. Trae Young.
Oh, yeah, Trae Young. I remember that.
48. Yeah. You did that game?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Watched as a fan.
Got it. 48 in a loss in Stillwater.
Yeah. I remember that was part of the downward trajectory of Trae Young.
Yes.
He started struggling a little bit after that.
Yes.
No struggle from Miles McBride on that jump shot.
Boy, is he solid. I don't know if he's going to make my first team all-league, but certainly second team. Because I'm going to put Culver on there, Rich.
Giving us a tip of the hat on that one?
I'm going to, let's put it this way. 2 Baylor players are making it, and Cade Cunningham's making it. And then I'm going to let you figure out who I have for the other 2 spots.
Well, you and I have spoken about this already.
Yeah.
I have no argument with Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell being first-team all-league players. As a matter of fact, I think this year, in a strange year as it is, Why not let 6 or maybe 7 guys make first team all Big 12?
Well, some leagues do that because they don't want to, they don't want to, it's politically the right thing to do, they think. But I'm going by 5 guys. And as of today, it would be Austin Reeves and Derek Culver. I love what Mac McClung's doing. They're not, they're coming in today, they were in 7th place. Austin Reeves had a monster game today.
Yep.
We'll see how he does on Monday night. There's 7 or 8 guys. Marcus Garrett doesn't make my first team, and that's kind of crazy given the kind of season and career he's had. But there's 8 or 9 guys fighting for those 5 spots.
Listen, you mentioned Reeves. He's one of 5 players to match the kind of numbers that Miles McBride has put up this year across the board. Io DeSumo from Illinois is the other one. Sharif Cooper, the freshman sensation from Auburn. And then David Duke, who I know you're a big fan of as well. Those are the only major conference players to average the same kind of stat line that Miles McBride does for West Virginia.
Yeah, and Miles is a sophomore, too. Cooper, a freshman who didn't play today. It's another shot clock violation. And just again, offense not in sync. Of course, remind everybody they're playing without Nigel Pack, who did not play in the first meeting against West Virginia, and who has had an outstanding freshman year, who will be on my all Big 12 freshman team.
And that's another great list.
Yep.
Cade obviously on that list.
Cade will make it, Rich. I debated that one, but he will make it. Mike Miles will make it. Nigel Pack will make it. I have it written down somewhere. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There you see Nigel Pack, freshman guard from Indianapolis. They recruited him really hard. He's going to love it next year when fans are back in Bramlage and they're cheering for him. And this young guy has a lot of the same kind of attributes that we saw out of guys like Barry Brown and Kamal Stokes. And in some ways has had a better freshman year than either, and that's saying something.
As a matter of fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I asked Bruce, who does he remind you of from guys that you've coached? And Bruce answered, Kamal Stokes is one, but he said he's not quite like Kamal. He's almost like a hybrid of Kamal Stokes and D. Brown. And that is high praise for Nigel Pack.
Pretty good, yeah. Yep, that certainly is. He's one of the all-time greats to come out of Chicago, Proviso East. Same school that produced Javon Carter, by the way.
$11-point West Virginia lead, ranked 10th in the country and primed to move up in those rankings with a win here today. Looking to make it 6 wins in their last 7 games. Their only loss in that span, a double overtime loss to Oklahoma. Well, we have the rest of Saturday to get through, and we've got a couple of great games for you. Don't want to miss these. Duke, winners of 4 straight. Duke hosting 12-5 Louisville at Cameron Indoor at 6 Eastern. Then back to the Big 12. Number 2 Baylor, number 17 Kansas at the Phog. We'll be tuned in for that one for sure.
Listen, they're not going to like us down at George's in Waco. When I pick Kansas tonight, I just think Baylor still recovering from the COVID pause. Certainly they struggled on Tuesday. That's a tall order to go in and beat Kansas, who's playing their best basketball for the most part of the season. By the way, getting back to Duke, Rich, I don't really care about the young man that transferred, okay? He did what he did. But if you have coached, you know that addition by subtraction is real, okay? It's not a criticism of the fact that they lost. Just like when the guy that left here left, right? In some ways, they're better offensively. In some ways, they're not. They're not as good defensively, West Virginia, statistically. But the fact that Duke is playing the way they're playing right now with the excitement and energy, that young team, and Coach K looks like he's so engaged with that team. If you haven't coached, you'll never understand addition by subtraction. Basketball is a chemistry sport. And when sometimes a player leaves your team, even if they're talented, in some ways, it makes your team better. And that's what's happened at Duke.
Has a galvanizing effect if you want
does.
Players who remain.
And the guys that stay, the guy that Mark Williams, all of a sudden, the young freshman, is starting to blossom before our eyes because he's getting more minutes, more confidence. He knows he's not coming out. And I'm actually enjoying watching Duke, revive their season.
Sherman
Much the way
knocks them both down.
Yeah, much the way we watch West Virginia start doing that on January 2nd.
Right. Those two free throws make it a 7-0 Mountaineers run. Their largest lead of the game is now up to 15 with 8 minutes to go in this one. Gordon off the back iron, too strong. And another one-and-done possession for the Wildcats.
And again, going forward, outside shooting must improve for K-State. Only 3 threes today. And shooting about 20%.
Shooting hasn't been terrific for these Mountaineers, as it has been since Oscar Tshiebwe left. They've averaged about 80 points a game since big number 34 left Morgantown. But today, they're still under 50 with 7.5 to go, and yet, because of their defense and the Kansas State offensive woes, they're up to 15. And there's an and one opportunity for Jordan McCabe.
The former Wisconsin Player of the Season from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, getting the start today and getting it done. Take a look. Smallest guy on the floor, strong to the rim. Oh yeah, count it, and one.
Number 3, Michigan. Number 5, Illinois. Michigan, Fran, has solidified itself as a top seed, just like Gonzaga and Baylor has. And listen, for all the talk about the talent they have on the floor, Juwan Howard has done a dynamite coaching job, and you've been on top of that story since Jump Street. Why is that? Why do you love Juwan Howard as a head coach?
It's a great point, Rich. First of all, let's give John Beilein some credit, because he left behind a really solid program with great culture. Here's the thing about Juwan Howard. He made over $100 million as an NBA player. He should be chipping golf balls at Doral right now down in Miami, okay, on a Saturday afternoon. Instead, he's gone back to his alma mater. Now, remember this. Juwan Howard, instead of retiring, spent 6 years on the staff of the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra, which is like 20 years of work with anybody else. And anybody who's made that much money, that much acclaim, who decided to go back and grind as an NBA assistant, and by the way, worked for maybe the best coach in the league, maybe, arguably, tells you that he loves the game. The offensive philosophy, and the defense too, that he's brought to Michigan is state of the art. It's NBA style. And I would say this, Rich, you knew they were going to be one of the best teams in the country midway through this season, and now some people think they're the best team. I know this. He should be the National Coach of the Year based on the expectations for Michigan this year. We knew Gonzaga and Baylor would be terrific. They have been. If I had a vote, and Scott Drew is a good friend and is going to get a lot of Coach of the Year awards, Juwan Howard will get a couple of those too.
That's high praise. And one other thing that he is great at, and he's proven it this year, he is a great delegator of authority. Phil Martelli, the consigliere on his bench, Howard Isley, the defensive coordinator. He knows how to delegate responsibilities like every great head coach does.
Well, Saudi Washington was there. He stayed on the staff. Phil Martelli is a great sounding board. And then Howard Isley, who's a Detroit guy, Detroit Southwestern, played high school basketball on some great teams. Jalen Rose, obviously, our guy. It's a great staff. It's a great team. They certainly are capable of winning it all. How about Jordan McCabe today, man? How about the young guy that got the start? He shoots almost 80% from the foul line. He's the only pure point guard, and now you're seeing West Virginia turn up the steam.
If you check out Jordan McCabe's high school mixtape, Fran,
oh yeah,
that's what you saw. He was a magician in high school with basketball. He showed a little sample of it just there.
I ran the Steph Curry Elite Camp for 3 or 4 seasons, and we had Jordan at camp with some great guys, great NBA players now in the NBA, and even Culver's getting started. But Jordan has always had swag, and Culver's got the grit. And West Virginia is about to move up in the rankings on Monday afternoon, maybe as high as 6 or 7.
A 17-0 run stopped, if only momentarily, by that 2 by Luke Kasubke. There's Culver, fouled at the other end by Bradford.
This is a young man that played on the same AAU team as a future NBA star, Tyrese Halliburton. Know each other well, played against each other, and there's little magic from the young man from Kaukauna, Wisconsin, getting it done. You know, the one thing we found out, Rich, because we've spent so much time in Morgantown, is he's as popular as any guy in that team. You can't get anybody to say a bad word about this guy. And you remember that freshman year when they really struggled and they got hot at the end, and the Big 12 tournament, they upset Texas Tech, and Emmett Matthews had 28. The one thing I remember about talking to the coaching staff, he said, this kid, Jordan McCabe, Matthews, all these other guys, all these other young players, they will be back in the gym on Monday after the Big 12 tournament, and the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, McCabe lives in the gym. Going back to that year where they really struggled, McCabe was starting every game almost out of necessity. Remember they had that, what was it, 5 overtime game against TCU? He played 50 minutes in that game. Wasn't quite 5 overtimes, but yeah, he played 50 minutes in that game, had 25 points, and that just showed that he could be a valuable asset. They don't need him to score. They don't need him to sparkle and shine like he did in high school. They need him to manage the team and manage his minutes, and he has been able to do that.
If you look at this roster, there's no 5-star guys on there. There's probably very few 4-star guys on here. It's guys Hugs likes to coach, and on Monday, they're going to move up in the rankings again.
Kasubke from
Get in there. I want that kid to make a few. He just made a jumper. He's another one of those guys out of St. Louis that the coaching staff recruited from his freshman year. Pretty good high school, Rich. It produced Jason Tatum and Bradley Beal, Chaminade.
I would say so. That ball looks like it's off the hands of Bridges. It'll be Kansas State ball.
And I don't want to forget my man David Lee as well, who had a long NBA career. There you see Jalen Bridges. He played on a team with the Stills brothers basketball, who are monsters. Fairmont High, of course, they're in the midst of great careers at West Virginia on the gridiron for Coach Neil Brown.
McGurl, wide open, can't knock it down. It's been all West Virginia in the second half. Close game through the first 20 minutes. Not so much the second stanza. 15-point Mountaineers lead. That one's taken away. Here's McGurl at the other end. Left-hand layup is good. And as we're coming up 3 minutes to go, friend, we've mentioned this a couple of times, but it bears mentioning now as we soldier on the last week of this Big 12 regular season. 3 more home games for the West Virginia Mountaineers. They welcome in Baylor, TCU, and then Oklahoma State. 3 games in a span of 5 days.
Well, nobody complains about the Big 12 schedule more than Bob Huggins through the years. It's all evened out for the Bear. They call him a grizzly bear. I call him a teddy bear. On his way to 900 wins, Rich.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball.
Conference wins on the year, tied for the most in program history. They get the Salukis coming up next, Rich.
Thank you, KC. And if North Carolina can hold on and win, Fran, that would mean that Roy Williams has himself 900 victories.
Hugs is on his tail. This will be not.
He and Hugs, the only 2 coaches to have 300 wins at 2 different schools.
Yes.
Hugs doing it at Cincinnati and at West Virginia. And of course, Roy Williams, the Hall of Famer, did it at Kansas and then North Carolina.
See, I told Hugs yesterday, but some of those wins were against Tiffin and Ohio Dominican.
I'm sure he loved that.
With Malone. But in fairness, as you look at that list, Bob Huggins has taken over some programs that were down in the dumps. When he got to Akron, he resurrected it. When he got to Cincinnati, he resurrected that program, took him to a Final Four. K-State, you'd have to say that he kick-started that program, and the great job Frank Martin did, and then Bruce Weber obviously winning 2 Big 12 tourney titles. Bob Huggins, remember, spent that year in Manhattan. And by the way, Rich, kudos to Kansas State for giving Bob Huggins that chance to get back into coaching after he was fired at Cincinnati, and he spent that year in Manhattan and loved it and coached Billy Walker. You know, and then you started that, that Rodney Magruder group and Michael Beasley and
Frank Martin took over.
Yeah, Frank Martin took over, did a great job, and then Bruce Weber, who has always honored Frank Martin, by the way, and Shane Southwell is now on the Kansas State staff, who was a terrific role player for those guys.
Basket by Miguel.
There's Selton Miguel with just his second field goal of the afternoon. Still a 13-point West Virginia lead, 2.5 to go.
I would say this.
Wins in the Big 12, Fran, for West Virginia.
Yep. I'd say this now, based on Cade Cunningham's performance, not only today but all season. When you talk about the last 15 years, we're talking Kevin Durant, Rich. We're talking Michael Beasley. We're talking Trae Young. We're talking Blake Griffin, right?
Some elite company.
Joel Embiid, Wiggins, somewhat. And what Cade's doing right now is historic.
Kasuki left alone. Still can't knock it down.
Man, he is wide open. That young man scored nearly 2,000 points in high school, and he has not been able to find the range all season.
We have a timeout on the floor, minute 47 to go. This game feels comfortably in hand, 63-40. West Virginia on the brink of their 10th Big 12 win. And again, 3 more games remaining. The Big 12 wisely factored in an extra week between the regular season and the Big 12 Conference Tournament in Kansas City, almost anticipating that there would have to be makeup games, and indeed there were. West Virginia will play 3 makeup games this coming week, and all 3 are on this floor in West Virginia Coliseum.
What this ensures, this win today, is that Baylor will not be the regular season Big 12 champion just yet. If they win tonight, they get Scott Drew's first Big 12 title. If not, the sliver of hope for West Virginia continues.
Reserves on the floor, plenty. Counting down to 1 minute to go. It's going to be 6 wins in their last 7 games for the West Virginia Mountaineers. The offense that we praised didn't really show up as much. Give Kansas State's defense a little credit in that department, but the West Virginia defense was certainly fierce this afternoon. Big 12 now on ESPN Plus, a must-have for Big 12 fans. Tuesday, number 14 Texas takes on Iowa State, and TCU takes on number 18 Texas Tech, both at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. And on Saturday, the Wildcats hosting Iowa State at 5 Eastern, 4 Central. If you're a Big 12 fan, you gotta have it. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com/Big 12 now.
So, Rich, I'm just thinking ahead here with a little St. Edmunds Elementary School math, right? If West Virginia were to win on Tuesday night against Baylor, then they would be playing TCU for number 900 for Bob Huggins. And if somehow they lose to Baylor Tuesday night at home, we might be right back here on Saturday with a chance to make history. And of course, Jamie Dixon's team Thursday night will have something to say about that as well.
No doubt. Storylines aplenty still as this Big 12 regular season winds down.
I think Taj Thweet just got on the board, the freshman from Wildwood, New Jersey, who got a little run in that Texas game in the first half.
Ball saved. Live ball inbounds. Here's Kadrian Johnson bringing it up. The shot clock is off. And that's Jay Moore in the corner. And it'll be Kansas State ball as we wrap this one up. Kansas State will drop to 7-19 on the season. Their 2-game win streak is snapped. They'll fall to 3-14 in Big 12 play, and it's going to be win number 17 for West Virginia and number 398 in the soon-to-be Hall of Fame career for Bob Huggins.
Foul whistled on Spencer Mackey, his first, team foul number 7. Line for the Wildcats, Siri Lewis.
So here's Siri Lewis at the line, shooting 2 free throws.
Young man, a freshman from Chicago, who finished up his high school career out in Phoenix, Arizona. Getting about 6 minutes a game, he'll get a chance here to put himself on the board.
Kansas State has one game remaining. They'll have a week off before they face Iowa State next Saturday to wrap up Big 12 regular season play.
Think about it, Rich. The 7th place team in this league is likely going to the NCAA tournament, but will have to play on the opening night against the 10 seed.
And the musket goes off. Country roads take me home. Bob Huggins gets win number 398 in his career over Bruce Weber. Your final score, West Virginia 65, Kansas State 43. For Fran Fraschilla, I'm Rich Hollenberg. Now we send you to SIU and Loyola. Clay Matvick